Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon. This webinar is being brought to you by ServingIntel, and today's discussion will be driving operational excellence, leveraging the AI and BI for senior living. My name is Jim Livingston. I'm the SVP of Sales here at ServingIntel.
I'm Lance Bell, founder, CIO, and CEO of ServingIntel.
And we're glad you guys can come and join us. Today, we're going to kind of talk a little bit about Lance made a trip into Taiwan to see Computex, and he's going to kind of discuss some of the things that he learned. We're going to do an introduction into operational excellence within the senior living communities. We're also going to discuss harnessing AI and BI for efficient staff management. We'll then discuss enhancing maintenance and asset management with AI and BI. We will also discuss improving inventory control and supply chain management. And lastly, we'll talk about enhancing resident satisfaction using AI and BI. So go ahead, Lance. I know you went to Computex just literally last week, or this week, I should say. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened there?
It was kind of a carryover. First, for those who don't know, Computex billed itself as the second largest electronics show in the world. That would be behind CES in Las Vegas in January. What I personally liked about Computex, I think was my sixth time going, is that it has a focus on B2B, and it's in Taiwan, it's in Taipei. It's more focused on the latest leading edge technologies that are coming out of that region of the world. And so with that, I get to visit with our manufacturers, the hardware that's produced in Taiwan, the hardware that's produced in China. Microsoft is usually there. They weren't this year, but they're typically there. And then all the large hardware companies. Here, NVIDIA was there. They're obviously the hot topic for the last 6 months. And that's because their chip designs are what powering artificial intelligence right now. They recently joined the $1 trillion club, and their CEO gave the keynote speech. There was a demonstration there, and it was pretty amazing. It was inside of a video game, and it was the player having an AI conversation with a fake actor. There's an acronym for it, but for an actor or a player in the game that's not a human. So the ability to go into different scenarios, ask questions, get responses. That's the level of immersion that's starting to take place. And NVIDIA is getting closer and closer to releasing their own AI platform. So there's a lot of amazing things that are happening on the hardware chip side of things. And then still in hardware, Qualcomm gave a pretty amazing talk. And it's the distribution of the technologies. And so their VP of their SVP technology, Alex Zozian, was there. And what they talked about, again, was the distributed aspect of this. And so these large learning modules are being held in data warehouses, and you can access them. Obviously, most popular one is ChatGPT. But there's a lot of new models that are coming online. Google's is online now, even through limited invitations. And you're accessing that, but you also have the ability to then have plugins and access to other layers or levels of edge computing. For example, you can attach Expedia onto ChatGPT and ask chat prompts for, hey, what's the cheapest ticket to Taiwan? And get the dates, get everything coming back to you via Expedia's tie-in to all of the airline databases. Back to you through chat prompts on finding the type of information that you're looking for. So it's one major data warehouse with the LMM that's tied to multiple other plugins. And then you bring it all the way back, which is the device side of things, all the way down to wearables, not just the cell phones or the laptops we think about, but all the way down to smartwatches, wearables that are embedded in clothing. So it's an ecosystem of technologies that are tied together, and it's all about learning habits, learning traits. There are a number of vendors there on the wearable side, and things like blood pressure monitoring, the quality of that gets higher and higher. Smartphone watches, sensors embedded into clothing These are all being tied together through advanced Wi-Fi and Bluetooth technologies, so that from a central standpoint, this is often referred to as IoT, the Internet of Things. It's the ability to collect all this data that might be, say, worn by a resident in a senior living community, and then assess that data in order to do trend analysis. One of the examples given was the pace of walking. If a resident, they'd walk to the dining room, they'd walk to the library, they'd walk to the garden. The system monitors how many steps they take per minute. And if over the course of time their steps slow down, that can point to things like possible hip joint issues, all kinds of amazing things that just by monitoring walking pace, the system's able to ascribe and then communicate with staff to prescribe some ways to work with that resident to make sure they stay at optimum health. And also there, of course, robots were there. I thought this would be a good transition point. Our partner in robots for senior living and hospitality is Servi or Bear Robotics, and the Servi Plus just came out. And Jim, would you share a little bit about the new model, Servi Plus?
Oh yeah, of course. So those familiar with the Servi model, it typically was a 2-tray version, had a small little bus tub on the bottom. This one has been really, everybody's been waiting for this for a very long time. And now it's one of the largest robots on the market today. It'll actually have 4 different shelves. It'll carry literally up to 10 to 12 plates. If you stack them, it could carry almost 15 to 20 in senior living. And as you can see, it doesn't care what kind of food it takes. It takes all different cuisines. Let's talk about some of the benefits actually within robotics that people don't necessarily, they think they know, but they're not really sure. So on the senior living side of the business, and it also happens in restaurants as well, there's labor shortages and there are challenges regarding labor. What happens is that if a normal server in a restaurant has 4 tables, for example, on a busy day or night, and there's 24 tables in a restaurant, then in order for that restaurant to be fully staffed, they're going to have to get 6 servers. In most cases today, you can't find 6 servers. And so they're running with 3 or 4. And so you're going into some of these places and you're realizing that you're on an hour-long wait, or you can't get sat because half the restaurant is empty. The reason for that is because they don't have enough servers in order to take care of you properly. In the senior living segment, it's no different. If I don't have enough servers to take care of my residents that come down, I have a serious problem. And so robots are actually allowing people to have less and less staff on the floor while that robot does all the back and forth redundant work. So all the back and forth redundant is all about, the repetitive tasks, i.e. running food from the kitchen to the table. Or maybe how about taking product back into the kitchen, i.e. plates, silverware, glasses, and so on, acting as a busing unit. When you do that, you actually alleviate the need for so many people. So when you don't have 2 people and you don't need them necessarily because you now have a robot in its place, we're seeing that the difference in that cost is substantial, and the ability for that server to actually love their job more. They walk less, they lift less, and they ultimately give better service because why? They're standing out in front the entire time with the resident. So from a labor perspective, it's really great. It's really helping. And senior living has reported in several scenarios where they have saved 1 to 1.5 full-time employees, or the need to hire them, I should say. Because again, it's nobody's getting rid of people. It's that we just don't have them and they're not coming back. So what are we going to do? We need to find solutions like robotics in order to help out. From a productivity standpoint, again, allowing a server that maybe, for example, in that same 24 table restaurant I just described, if they needed 6 servers to have 4 tables, and now all of a sudden I only have 4 servers and I have 6 tables, can I actually do a better job? Because I'm not necessarily going back and forth and running all the time in and out of the kitchen, doing whatever it is that I do, whether it's filling up drinks or getting food and so on. So the productivity improves dramatically, and it actually also helps the servers have a better quality of life overall. We also found that it reduces overtime. So if I'm short-staffed, I got to still find somebody to work, and if somebody's willing, I'm willing to pay them overtime. We have clients out there that have actually saved between $3,000 and all the way up to $7,000 a month in actual overtime costs. Keeping in mind that robots cost less than $800 a month to have one. If you're actually spending $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 in overtime, it becomes a no-brainer at that point. So the biggest concern is, of course, how are we? If those folks are working that much overtime, we're killing them, and we need to do a better job. And getting a robot will actually make their life a little bit easier. And then lastly is on the resident satisfaction side. The residents overall, they actually name the robots when they come in. They think they're really cool. People, of that age group used to say to themselves when they watched the Jetsons way back in the day, I wonder if this day's ever going to come. And they start laughing now going, wow, here I am. I'm 65, 70, 75 years old. I thought I'd never see it, but here are robots actually serving me food. So really cool stuff overall. Robotics are the future. You see them on the food running and busing side. You also see them in kitchens that are making food. They got ones that flip burgers. They got ones that make salads. They got ones that cut onions for things that people that don't really like to do that. So think of robotics as a tool to help your establishment be more productive, more efficient in the future. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and ask you a question there, Lance. So let's talk about the how operational excellence in senior living community. How are we achieving that through the use of AI and BI?
When we started this particular subject, operational excellence, first we have this focused on healthcare, senior living. Our team, we're blessed to serve hospitals. We also serve restaurants, and we're into the public and private school market now. And so it's all around transaction management. And so if you're in one of those other three industries, you could certainly take these questions and just describe it to your industry. But in dreaming about this, we want you to ask yourself these following questions. How have staffing shortages affected your senior living community's operations, resident care, and the employee workload? What strategies have you implemented to manage the increasing healthcare costs within your community? And are there specific areas where cost control is a significant challenge? How do you ensure compliance with regulations and standards within your community, within your local and state governments? And what challenges have you encountered in maintaining compliance? These are the challenges that our partners speak back to us when we ask them how business is running. And then the goals, the flip side of that. How do you currently measure resident satisfaction in your community? What initiatives have you undertaken to improve that satisfaction? There is a correlation, of course, between resident satisfaction and occupancy rates. The higher goes one, the higher goes the other. What strategies or tools have you implemented to enhance staff productivity in senior living? And how do you measure and track performance of staff and their productivity? And finally, what cost-saving measurements have you implemented to improve efficiency within your community? And how do you identify the areas of inefficiency and prioritize cost reduction efforts?
So, what are the benefits of leveraging the AI and BAI technologies to address these challenges? And how do you get how do you achieve the desired outcomes that you're looking for?
When you think of AI and you think of BI, you got to separate the two. They work together. But AI is right now, today, you say we talk in terms of version 4 or level 4. Level 4 is information that is intelligent, that is able to be delivered when you ask for it. The next level of generative AI is AI that interprets data on its own, based on guidelines, and then presents that data to you in a proactive format. This is where the world's heading. We are not there yet. There's projections that will be there towards the end of 2023, but whether it's this year or next, we're not there yet. And so it still takes human involvement in order to get the information. Now, BI, business intelligence, is essentially dashboard gauges. They're graphics pulling from the data in real time or trend through historicals, and it presents it in such a way that you can have these as widgets or elements on a phone, on a laptop. Essentially, you're creating a dashboard. And in AI and BI, it's the convergence of those two is the benefits that we're getting right now. And so what we're looking to do is enhance our decision-making capabilities by getting these insights from both sides of AI and BI. And then once we have that information, how are we going to optimize everything across the operation? And we're going to kind of start off here by talking about allocation with staff and staffing.
So how does AI-powered scheduling and workforce management solutions, how does that optimize staff allocation, reduce costs, ensure optimal resident staff ratios?
You talked about it a little bit. I mean, as a solution, you talked about it a little bit with the Survey robot. There are certain situations, not as bad this year as it was last year. Last year at summertime was a disaster trying to find labor. Period. That supply has increased somewhat, but it's still very very tight, especially in the senior living world. And so, in places where you absolutely have a vacuum of staff, you have two options. One is you have to redo your operation. And we have one partner that's in the process of doing that. They're actually moving away from dining, hospitality dining, and they're moving back towards pre-ordered limited meals. That's kind of personally, it's kind of a heartbreak for me to hear anybody going backwards in terms of operation. Certainly is more streamlined and it's more efficient. They're looking to utilize people who can be more cross-trained, say front desk to serving food back to the front desk. But there's other ways to not lower your level of hospitality, but solve the issue of supply. So, of course, robots is one of them. And robots are not just dining room. Robots can assist skilled nursing staff. They can transport medicines. They can do just anywhere you have a human being that's walking and only walking. That person could be augmented. That task of walking could be replaced and used with a robot, and then you can free up your staff to be doing more of the resident engagement things that they should be doing. So that's one piece of this. The other piece of this too is just the staffing. The flex staffing is getting more and more superior to previous solutions, and that's the ability to do two sides of it. So one is using AI to find prospective employees that are out in the marketplace. And so using AI for everything from seeking out different pools of employees. This could be people coming out of high school, people coming out of college. This could be people who have other industries who are in the hospitality. You could think quick service. They're in a hospitality-minded industry, but they're not in an industry that generates high levels of staff satisfaction. And you can use the AI to, one, find them, two, market to them. That could be done through social media channels. The AI today creates everything. It creates the employee hiring campaign. It creates the social media blasts. It creates the questions that you would ask, both in terms of marketing and all the way down to the actual interview of these individuals. And then the onboarding process, how to organize the onboarding process so that you have a streamlined system for bringing somebody into your organization and taking care of them. And so on the staff allocation piece of this, there's the those people who aren't yet your employees. And then, of course, there's the after. It was how do we take better care of those employees that are currently on board? And so better managing of staffing, the flex piece of this I alluded to a minute ago, the ability for the employees to utilize each other should be through SMS text messaging to be able to call off, pick up shifts, and work together in a way that less impacts the business. And then finally, on the scheduling piece of it, it was just using the AI. Who are your best employees? The AI gives you the metrics in order for you to rate or rank your employees, and then giving the highest ranked employees the best shifts on the schedule will also yield positive resident outcomes.
Okay. Whoops. I got problems over here on my clicking abilities. All right, so let's talk about efficiency. So, how do you leverage BI analytics to gain insights into staffing trends, performance metrics, and training needs for continuous improvement?
Well, there's the two big data warehouse companies out there, Microsoft and AWS, each have their own solutions. And there was a senior living company out of Western Australia that had a nice case study with AWS on using their cloud-based scheduling modules, their communications. A lot of their staff can now work remote. I say a lot. A section of their staff can work remote. Think accounting, think HR, some administrative functions. People can either work part-time from home or in some cases full-time from home. And that's become a trend right now from people who are displaced from the previous pandemic. 40%, this is a stat I just heard this week, 40% of those workers do not want to return back to the workplace. And that's almost half. That's a pretty huge number. Speaking for our organization, we're a worldwide organization where everyone is virtual, and this wasn't because of the pandemic. We've been this way for 14 years. And I believe if it's your desire to have maximum flexibility where you work and sometimes when you work, you get a higher quality of life and you get lower turnover within your organization. So senior living is seeing some of that, and it's augmented by those two sources. So our preference, of course, no disrespect to Amazon Web Services, but we're a Microsoft partner and using the Azure data services. The human resources module is a part of what's called the Dataverse, and that's the key component to this. The Dataverse is the collection of data all within one location where widgets, again, business intelligence tools, dashboard gauges, can be pulled off of or better tied into in order to get better reporting, better analysis. And so one collection of databases where information's coming out via BI and information is being read and analyzed via artificial intelligence. This is how these two are working together within a single ecosystem for a single organization. And there's a component we talked about in the last webinar, ETL. This is Microsoft has a new solution called Fabric. And there are a number of vendors that are out there that take data that's currently siloed, or what we call walled up or holed up, and it brings it into the mix so that it's able to be analyzed against all the other data sources for an organization. So in senior living, there is a lot of different service providers that a community can pick up. Community engagement, repair and maintenance. Of course, you've got transaction management, point of sale. You got census and property management. You got health records with EHR. There's a lot of different vendors that a community will engage and will use, bringing them all through ETL into one single data warehouse. Then begins the opportunity to be able to apply AI and BI to it. So centralizing and integrating data from various sources, utilizing visual dashboards for easy interpretation, predictive analytics. This is how you drive operational excellence in senior living communities.
Sounds good. Let me go to our next question. Whoops. So how with these BI dashboards, how can I leverage these dashboards to affect tracking asset performance, maintenance activities, and then help make data-driven decisions, of course, for asset optimization?
You get to start at the high level, and we're kind of specific right now onto a department. We're talking about maintenance on one, so repair and maintenance. We're also talking about asset management, which is a key operational consideration within senior living communities. Looking at the high level, each individual within an organization has their job, their roles and responsibilities. And for the person and for the collective team, you have to determine what is success, whether it's over the course of the next quarter or the course of the next year. there should be key performance indicators that when green, I'm simple, I like green, yellow, and red. When green, show that we're making decisions and we're completing tasks that are helping us achieve better outcomes. That's what this is all about. So let's say repair and maintenance, they want to reduce costs. And there could be something very specific like transitioning over to LED, for example, in lighting. They look at the initiatives and the things that are important to them as a group on the repair and maintenance side, and then you parlay those into metrics, into dashboards that tie back into the database. So maybe SLAs. I love SLAs, service level agreements. Maybe a community tells all of its residents, when you have a problem in your apartment, we promise to respond in 30 minutes or less. And so you have the creation of a service, a work order by that resident. And there's a couple of different ways that we could do that through a website. The website forms a couple of very simple ways. And this is where we would utilize Microsoft's customer service module on behalf of the senior living community. So a work order is created. A work order then gets delegated to whichever person in that department is on staff at that time. And then we can start communicating via customized apps with that person. We can actually have a timer with 30 minutes and then 29:59, 29:58. And we could provide some motivation to that employee to make sure at a minimum they contact the resident to let them know when they're going to arrive, or they let that resident know that they're on their way. And so these communication type things are what's really pretty amazing. Now, the AI tie-in piece, this is a part of now Teams, Microsoft Teams, in addition to the customer service module, is when you're having an interaction with somebody, one, that interaction can be transcribed. I mean, just like right now in LinkedIn, Jim, you and I are speaking and our words are showing up with very little latency. Within a second, our words show up at the bottom of the screen. This transcription then is analyzed by AI, and we have the ability to provide information to the team member, to the employee on a separate column on the same screen, questions to ask or solutions. So a resident calls up and says, my light won't turn on, or my TV remote's not working. They have the ability to pull up questions to ask, possible solutions, troubleshooting tips, all while we're in the middle of a conversation with that resident. That's how pretty much amazing it is. Then on the asset side of it, you get a lot of things like HVAC, you got plumbing. There's all these different mechanical systems within these communities, and maintenance, preventive maintenance, tracking of failures. Old days, it wasn't long ago, this is all done by pen and paper. And anything today, this is pretty critical. Anything today that any employee for your community is doing with a pen and a piece of paper is wasted time and lost data. It's too easy these days to create, even if it's a simple web form, a way to collect information and store it into a database for future analysis. That's what this is all about. So when it comes down to asset preventive maintenance, repair and maintenance, there are ways to track the life cycle of any of these equipments into a database. That's a fairly standard thing. But then predictive is, when is it going to fail? And so if you've got a HVAC unit and it's got an average life of 15 years, but your senior living community, you have multiple communities across a geographic region, and in Southeast United States, you're only getting an average of 12 years out of your HVAC systems. Well, when do HVAC systems fail? They fail right the first time it hits 90 degrees outside. That's when they fail. And you're paying the highest rates to the repair people because they're in short supply of that week. And so there are ways to see how we can get something fixed in January when repair costs are low, and have a brand new unit going into the summer if this is what the AI is revealing to you. You're not getting 15 years out of a unit, you're getting 12. So these are ways to optimize maintenance schedules, reduce downtime, and the costs are critical. When you're working towards replacing a unit that hasn't broken yet, you've got a lot of bandwidth on negotiating and getting a great rate. when you're sitting in a community where all the residents are sweating and dying, not dying literally, but they're sweating, they're overheating because your HVAC system's down, you're in critical mode, and that's when you end up losing a lot of money.
Yep. So with that said, let's talk more about the supply chain side of things. So how does AI algorithms and predictive analytics optimize inventory levels, reduce the waste, and ensure timely procurement of essential supplies?
There's an acronym called APIs that get thrown around a lot. And essentially, an API is an application programming interface. It's also known as a web service. And the providers, the distribution channels that are out there, take FedEx and UPS, for example, they have APIs that allow for data to flow back and forth. Now, we see some of this. If you order something on FedEx, you can subscribe for alerts. And when your package gets picked up, when your package arrives in Nashville, arrives in Chicago, it's on the truck, you get an alert every single time reactively that this is going on. But as some of us know, if you ever subscribe for that, it's kind of a pain to get notifications on things that really don't mean anything to you. So from a supply chain perspective, vendors and distributors out there have opened up their systems to allow for data to flow, for data to be collected by the buyer and then reported against when that distributor has failed their service level agreement. We paid for 2 days shipping and it took 3 days to get here or 4 days to get here. Maybe you're working with a mainline provider like Cisco or US Food Service. You're able to find out how many times did they substitute your specified item for an inferior item and have a negotiation conversation with your sales rep for that group. Then we're kind of talking about mainline now. Then you get into the inventory control side of this. And this is where we're really able to control what I refer to as velocities. This is the ordering of perishable goods and how quickly you turn those perishable goods in your community. Now, tying back to artificial intelligence, what we want to collect from the residents is satisfaction. We purchased something, it came through to the supply chain, we then manufactured it into a dish, we presented it to you at the table. How satisfied were you with that dish? Did you like the ingredients? Did you like the freshness? Did it appeal to your taste buds? To be able to interact with the residents via AI, our platform is Ruby, and so we can ask conversational questions of the residents. Literally, how was the service today provided by Stephen at lunch? Was Stephen prompt? Was Stephen friendly? We can pick these things up through speech to text, store them in a database, and it comes back to dining room management. How well do the residents like that new dish? How well do they like your service staff? Is there any other opportunities that we can optimize the offering in order to get better outcomes? So the more residents like something, the less waste there's going to be. This is food hitting the trash can at the end of a meal. Ordering the right amount. And so we have X percentage of our guests, our residents that like beef as compared to chicken, as compared to vegetarian. Our ability to then tie that into purchase ordering, so we're getting the right quantities in, and then assuring that everything gets made the right season, they get made timely, and we have just the essential supplies in house that we need in order to have success.
So that was on the AI side. How do we leverage the BI tools for real-time visibility into things like inventory levels, demand patterns, and supplier performance, which obviously will help us lead to a better and more informed decision?
Well, with Microsoft, we use their Power Platform to do this, and we create just absolutely spectacular gauges, ways to measure information that's currently in the database. And so what we do for our partners is we set up a custom dashboard that's in our cloud solution that's pulling out of that Microsoft Dataverse. And that's how we deliver reporting on the KPIs that our operators need in order to be successful. So it's dashboard. It's also reporting. We have what we call system alerts. System alerts these are triggers. They could take place off of common elements within the operation. Too many people on the time clock, not enough people on the time clock tied to customers or residents that are in the dining room. So we're able to flag and trip triggers that fire off alerts either by email or SMS text. So we can vibrate somebody's cell phone and give them warning messages through a partner called Twilio. We're able then to show them the demand patterns. As far as flow goes, we referred to it as traffic, resident traffic. And then we talked a little bit earlier about supplier performance, eliminating substitutions, all the way down even when the truck shows up. Is it within the specified window, or is our distributor having problems that's causing delays on when shipments arrive at our back door? It gives us an opportunity to make these proactive decisions, and it certainly helps us when we get into vendor negotiations.
So I pulled up the second portion of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. I'm just doing a quick scan to see if there's anything else that I got on there. Stock availability, better forecasting. Yeah, it expands off of the answer I just provided there. But that's what you get with the BI tools, better data-driven decisions.
Okay. So how is AI-driven solutions being used for personal resident care plans, health monitoring, or engagement type programs within senior living?
All of these things, I mean, we've talked about, through this session, from wearables, where a resident is at geographically within our community, what that resident is doing. We know when they enter into the dining room. We know how long they're in the dining room before they leave, how often the residents are going to the exercise room, they're going to the swimming pool, they're spending out in the back courtyard, in the garden. Each one of these activities provides insights into the quality of life for that resident. Conversely, if you have a resident that is in their room and doesn't leave their room day after day after day, wellness checks, making sure that they get the attention that they need, so that we can proactively solve problems that reactively can end up being real negative for the community. And so gaining these insights into their preferences. Preferences is another neat one too. Through AI conversational, you have the ability to engage the residents into the things that they care about. Residents, it's not, when we talk about artificial intelligence, it's not trapped on a language model, learning model, that's just local to the community. So Jim, for example, when we fire up a partner, what we're doing is we're scraping, is the term, the website for that community to learn everything about that community that's just common to the public. So hours of operation, address, telephone number, all these key metrics come right from the residents' database. And then we have senior living specific things like, meal questions. What time is lunch today? What items are available for lunch today? We're quickly moving into food ordering. That's the next piece of this that's rolling out. I would like to order breakfast for tomorrow. And the AI gives them, okay, here are the items that are available. What would you like? I would like 2 eggs. Great. How would you like your eggs cooked? And this is the back and forth dialogue with AI. All of this information being stored in the data warehouse. It's the follow-up piece of this where you really gain insights. So later that day, the resident is talking to the AI maybe about dinner. The AI can stop the conversation and say, hey, how was breakfast? Was it delivered in a way? Was the hot food hot and cold food cold? Did you enjoy your experience? Is there anything the staff could have done to make it better? This is the AI, the chatbot, asking these questions through speech to the residents and collecting all this rich data after the fact that, again, all gets stored back to the database. So levels of resident satisfaction down to specific things. There's an event, there's a trip. We're going to the mall. We're going to a movie theater off site. Did you like the event? We're bringing in outside musicians. We're bringing in comedians. How well did you like the comedian last night? What did you like? What did you not like? All of these interactions. People love to share their opinions on stuff. And all of these interactions can be recorded and stored. And so you get a much richer level of feedback. You learn more about the overall satisfaction levels. And then you find out your residents love country western music. They don't love 60s rock and roll. then you can start working with the events coordinator to get more of those country western folks into your community and raise the bar on resident satisfaction.
I think that leads us to, I believe this is our last slide, enhancing the resident satisfaction and how we do it. I think this is, we can end here, or we can go to the audience for questions, Q&A session maybe.
I think with our overlay opportunity, we do have folks that are on the webinar with us right now. We appreciate y'all joining and hanging with us through this. So, some of the things that I hear when I'm out talking to our partners, what's here today and what's coming next. There's a lot of buzz, obviously. BI's been around for a while. And so with what's exciting now about business intelligence, it's the integration of the artificial intelligence. That's what's exciting now. It's these two things working together. So, internally for our team, we started working on our own AI network for our partners back in February. We launched it at the end of March. About 6 weeks ago now, it was end of April, early May, we had we hired and created our first AI BI team. And so working with the network we built, we now have a team of engineers that are putting together the tools and the pieces, the weather plugin, the progressive web application launch for the cell phone device is in place. Right now, today, they're working on the ordering piece of this so that residents can utilize e-commerce and do online ordering by speech, either augmented or enhanced, or just straight ordering by voice. These are the things that are launching here in the next days. The BI launch, the tie-in, that's incorporating the Power BI tools from Microsoft into our cloud solution. So our previous dashboards were put together by another company called Telerik. And so we've swapped that out now with Microsoft's tools. And then, Jim, from our standpoint, as you know, we've taken our corporation, our internal processes, and we've moved them and migrating them over to Microsoft. So this is, for us internally, this includes, we've already moved CRM over. We're in the process just this week. We launched Microsoft Teams with the telephony interface. And so we're now answering our customer service phone calls through the Teams app. And that's how we tie into transcription, tie into interactive artificial intelligence. And so we're consuming all of this. At the same time, we're helping our partners and their consumption of all of this. And from an ERP perspective, enterprise resource procurement or planning, a couple different ways you can use the ERP acronym, and CRM on the other side of this, that entire organizational life cycle can now be laid upon the Microsoft platform. This is the Dynamics 365 platform, and you get end-to-end visibility on all of your data. And then for all those other vendors that are out there that do not utilize Microsoft's technologies, we have the ability to do the ETL, to extract that data out, transform it, and then load it into the Dataverse warehouse. So these are the things we're doing both for us, for our partners, and it's a real exciting time right now to be out managing things, doing things, and helping our partners provide better outcome for their customers.
Yeah, and I think everybody loves the fact that we as a company I think we're one of the first ones actually to implement AI within our software. We see the value. We recognize it from the industry perspective. I think people appreciate that. If you obviously need any more information, Lance is always open to having conversations. I think this might be his favorite subject in general. So please, by all means, you can reach out to him or us at solutions@servingintel.com, or pick up the phone and call us. We'd be more than happy to help you. We look forward to the opportunity to work with you in the future. This concludes our presentation for today. Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.